So it's Montero Unboxing's year-end 2014 Boxing Awards. I want to talk about my pick for Fighter of the Year. But this wouldn't be any fun without a countdown, right? So let's start with my number 5 pick for 2014's Fighter of the Year. Cotto took a big risk when he moved up in weight to fight lineal champion Sergio Martinez, and most boxing pundits, myself included, favored Martinez in that fight. We thought it could get ugly for Cotto in there, but Cotto showed that he really is rejuvenated and he's still got some gas in that tank. He destroyed Martinez, pretty much sending him into retirement. Now Cotto's set up for a big fight against Canelo Alvarez next year. That's probably going to be the biggest payday of his career. I thought Pacquiao had one of his best years, maybe since 2010. The win over Timothy Bradley, look, that's a top 5 pound-for-pound fighter. Pacquiao dominated him for the second time, right? But this time he got the decision. But in this fight, he dominated Bradley even more clearly. And then later in the year, you know, Chris Algieri is a B-level guy. Nobody's calling Chris Algieri elite, but he was undefeated, much younger, much taller, and Pacquiao absolutely dominated every second of that fight. So overall, a really, really good year for Pacquiao. Consider that Golovkin fought 3 times this year, in Europe, in New York, and Los Angeles. All 3 venues were sold out. All 3 crowds were going crazy. This guy has real crossover potential, and not just in one demographic or in one country. I'm talking global crossover potential. The way Golovkin's been destroying these opponents, it's reminiscent of the way Mike Tyson was destroying the lesser opponents he was fighting as he moved up the ranks back in the 80s in the heavyweight division. Now Golovkin's set up to face Martin Murray, a credible top 10 middleweight, early next year, and then he's supposed to fight Andy Lee in a unification match. Say what you will about Andy Lee, he's a quality fighter, proven, he's fought the best, and it'll probably be Golovkin's toughest opponent to date. I can't wait for that fight when it happens. A crusher. Look, the biggest criticism of Kovalev has been that he hasn't fought anybody, right? Well, this year he finally got Bernard Hopkins in the ring, and the media was split right down the middle on this one. I picked Kovalev, but I thought it would be a split decision. I thought this would be a very competitive fight. Nobody expected Sergey to completely dominate Hopkins the way he did, but he dropped him early in the fight, and from that point on, B-Hop fought really, really scared, pretty much all in survival mode. You know, the crusher, he scares opponents in the ring, but he also scares opponents outside the ring, because the guy we all want to see him fight, Adonis Stevenson, he jumped ship and ran over to Showtime to fight scrubs nobody's ever heard of. That's how scared he is of Kovalev. So this guy scares fighters everywhere, even when he's not fighting. To me, this one was easy. Terence Crawford is hands down the 2014 Fighter of the Year. Before his Fight of the Year candidate against Yuriorkis Gamboa, Crawford traveled over to the UK to fight for a title on the titleist's home turf. So Crawford has shown a willingness to travel to get the big fights. So he goes over to the UK, wins the title, brings it back to America, takes lesser money to fight his first defense in front of his hometown fans, fights one of the more avoided fighters in boxing, Gamboa, in an exciting Fight of the Year candidate, like I said, wins that fight by knockout, the only guy to ever knock out Gamboa, and then he has a second defense again in his hometown against Beltran, another sellout crowd. What's not to like about Terence Crawford? This guy would rather fight for less money in front of his hometown fans than at some casino in front of a bunch of bloated fat fucks that don't even care about boxing. I love it. We need more Terence Crawfords in boxing. He is hands down 2014 Fighter of the Year.